So now we have the ability to Twilio at the command line. It's pretty cool. Like, you're going to unleash the power of Twilio from your command prompt.
Oh, I love that line.
Hi YouTube! The following interview took place August 6th, 2019 at Twilio's Signal Conference in San Francisco at Moscone West. It previously aired on our Signal TV broadcast over on twitch.tv/Twilio. In this interview, Ashley Roach sits down with Lizzie to talk about the Twilio CLI. I hope you enjoy this interview and live coding session.
Hi everyone, I'm Lizzie, a developer evangelist at Twilio, and we're back with Ashley Roach, a product manager on Twilio X.
Hey everybody. What's going on, Lizzie?
Very excited to have you on,
Yeah?
Ashley.
Cool.
So, you have a CLI demo for us?
I do. Yeah, so one of the things that we, at Twilio for a long time, the experience for developers has been either the console or the APIs. And the console is great for a lot of things, for doing things like purchasing phone numbers, viewing your message logs, and so on. But you have to go to the website, log in, sometimes click around a lot. And that's, that's great for some situations, but sometimes that's not as convenient for a developer, for example, or maybe a system administrator. On the flip side, we've had the API, and the API is great because it's super powerful, and you can do lots of great things in many different languages because it's quite simple. But the problem with that is then you need to know a fair amount of coding in order to actually make the API calls and format the output and do whatever your manager or whoever it is that asked you to do this thing, maybe a product manager like me, hey, I need that data, then you got to write some code. So there's a spot in between that we thought, and we've heard from customers, that is a command line interface. And so the command line, if you're not totally familiar with what a command line is, this is the command line, if you can see this. And so this is intimidating to some people, but I think for a developer, no way. This is like bread and butter stuff. So now we have the ability to Twilio at the command line. And so it's pretty cool. Like, you're going to unleash the power of Twilio from your command prompt.
Oh, I love that line.
You're unleashing, so that's amazing.
That's what we do at Twilio.
So the cool thing is, so I'm running on a Mac. You guys can totally install this right now if you wanted to. Those of you online, you can go to twil.io/CLI. That'll take you to the quick start guide. I'm looking at the chats. It's entertaining. So you can go to that quick start. That'll help you get started. In the Mac OS, we have a homebrew installer that makes it really easy to get installed. On Windows and Linux, you can use npm. So like npm install twilio-cli-g, and that's how you get it installed. You log in. So to create a profile is the first thing you have to do when you start. So these are profiles. So you can go Twilio. You don't have to type profiles. You can just type login and hit enter. And we give a name to your profile. So I'm not going to fully go through this thing, but let's call it that. It's a good name, maybe it's Dutch or something.
Very memorable. It kind of reminds me of Frozen.
Yeah, yeah.
Crossing the fjord, like FJORD.
Yeah, exactly. You put in your account SID, and then you put in your account token, and that will create a profile. So once you've created a profile, you can say show me the profiles. And I haven't updated we used to call them projects until not too long ago, but they're profiles, trust me. So I haven't updated my autocomplete, which is a great feature. Let me do this manually. Twilio profiles list.
Yes, for verticals, naming things is very hard.
It is, yeah. The people that can name things excellently are awesome.
I saw a good meme that was naming variables is the most challenging thing ever, but naming iterables is it's always I.
Yeah.
And it's
exactly.
Yes.
So what you can see here then at the bottom of the screen, actually it looks like it might be a little cut off. Let me do this again up here. So I have 3 profiles. So what that means is like if I'm doing a demo, I can use this profile with a different phone number, for example, or I can just have this default one, and I can switch them to be active depending on what you want to do. So that's pretty sweet and useful, I think, for the multiple environments that customers will use. But let's show some a little more interesting things like what do I want to show? We'll do something more basic at first. Let me clear this out. The Twilio API, and nope, don't want to see all those. So like core, for those of you that might be familiar with Twilio, we have a original API that's the V2010 API. So we've put that under core because V2010 is a little tricky to type and remember. We thought a little strange, but here's all that API set just directly mirrored in the CLI. We'll talk about messages, right? We like messages. So Twilio API core messages. I got the colon. And now we have messages, create, do the customer feedback thing. So list of messages. So let's do like a list of messages. So Twilio API core messages.
Anyone
list.
in the chat have any ideas of what messages could be listed here? Any predictions? Maybe? What will show up? Some kind of programming. Yes.
Okay, so you can see I'm struggling with what the flag is. So the cool thing is I can say help, and I get, oh, it's date sent. So I have a lot of messages in my history. So I'm going to say date sent, and we'll do like 2018, 10, 17. So that goes out to the API and grabs this, all these different messages that we've got. So that's pretty slick.
Wow, very handy.
The other thing is you can actually output this stuff in different ways. So if you wanted to put this into a bash script and use JQ in order to pipe maybe data from this to another command or something like that, you can do this and output it as JSON. So now you can see like here's all the actual JSON representation. So that's kind of cool from a basic interaction with the product. So these are all the rest of the APIs, right? So we have core, but all the different products that are under these different domains, they're all available here within the Twilio CLI. So pretty broad scope of capabilities, and we're super excited about having it here.
Yes,
Do
anyone
you have
in
any
the
other questions? Yeah.
questions in the chat? Anything you're excited for about building with the CLI?
Hello, SiliconANGLE. How's it going?
Yes, revertables. You could hope to JQ on the CLI. Pipe.
Yes, you can. So, so here I can actually show you an example of that if you give me one moment. Let's see. Oop, where's my browser? Other browser, give me a browser. Hey, a browser. GitLab. I have an example of this where I built a CI/CD pipeline with the actual Twilio CLI being scripted. So within here, right, we have a manifest that's building a Node 8 app. We're installing the CLI, and then we're running this script. And so let's take a quick look at that script.
And the CLI is open sourced.
CLI is open source. It's on GitHub.
There we go, John. Can you get that URL in the chat, please?
Yeah, so you can see here, for example, I'm going through, I'm finding an available phone number, right? So Twilio API core, blah, blah, blah. Piping it through JQ, pulling out the first item in that array of phone numbers that would come back. Then I'm creating a sub account and then I'm provisioning this phone number that I found here in the first one as the last item or the last step here in the CI build. So you could do this process and then actually maybe text the user, say, hey, like this user, we just bought you a phone number and it's in this sub account or whatever. So kind of take a quick look at what that build looks like. Here's an example that we just did. We just were doing a demo. So here's an example. Like we're installing the whole thing. And then this last little bit is that part where we're running the script and creating the phone number and sub account and then purchasing it. So yeah, so this could be useful in contexts where like your business might want to operationalize this purchasing without writing a whole bunch of code and have a kind of trackable environment. So where I have my commits, like you could go back and say like, oh, well, which user, like who was authorized to create this phone number and provision it. So you can just see this is that full history, that we get through Git. So, yeah.
As an aside, we had Silicon Angle was wondering what it's like at Twilio.
Yeah, what's it like at Twilio? Twilio is great. We have so much going on,
So much.
Incredible growth, and so it's definitely a very innovative culture, and just having a good time, getting to know everybody over the last year or so. If you didn't know, I came from SendGrid, so I was at SendGrid for a little bit. I was at Cisco prior to that, which is how I know the SiliconANGLE folks. Yeah, so it was good to transition through that group in developer experience and now be in the developer experience team at Twilio.
Has anything changed a lot since the move?
Yeah, I mean, for me, my team, we moved over fully to Twilio, so the processes are a bit different, and so that's an interesting thing to adjust to. But in general, yeah, it's pretty similar. People are all really nice and welcoming, so we're definitely happy about it. Yeah.
Same here. I think that acquisition really made sense.
So speaking of SendGrid, I have an example here I could probably do. I'm not going to run the full thing because let's see. So here's a fun one, which is I'll just explain what this does, and I'll run it, but it'll error out, and I can go and show you something later. But basically, we're getting the message list. Instead of outputting the format as JSON, we're outputting it as tab separated value. So you might think like, why the heck am I outputting as tab separated value?
Yeah.
Well, there's a certain circumstance where, let's say you have an auditor or you have someone in finance or accounting that wants to look at like the message logs, like how many did we actually send, and like reconcile that with like their Twilio bill or something like that. So tab separated is great because they can import it into Excel and do what they need to do. So you could do that, you could save it, and then you could go and send it via email. But if you have a SendGrid account and you put in your SendGrid API key, then you can use this email send command, send it to the person that wants to grab it, send it from your account, a message log, and it'll show up as an attachment. So I can show you what that looks like on the other side if you give me a second to jump back into my browser here and
Back to the browser.
let's see. This is always dangerous. Oh yeah, let me do it this way. New private window.
Private, that is
Let's
very
see.
handy.
Gmail.google.com. Does that work? I don't know. Maybe it's mail. All right.
It's just gmail.com usually, but that works too.
Yeah. Let's see. All right.
Master password. 1Password. Anyone use 1Password? Any other preferred password managers in the chat?
Gmail.
Ooh!
There it is.
Software computer science student from Colorado. Hi, KA1 Streams.
Hey, Colorado.
Okay.
All right.
YokoZoko321 is wondering, they just joined what we're doing. We're showing a demo of the new CLI.
Exactly. But we're showing one part of it. I might have sent it to my trash already. Let's see if it's in there. Yeah, so here you go. Here's an example. So this is the data that got piped in an Excel, basically Excel format of all that stuff in just one line of code. So, pretty handy way to, to get your stuff published out to another user. So, how much time do we have left?
We have 6 minutes left.
6 minutes. All right, let's run this thing out in an awesome way. So one of the really neat things that we announced today was the Serverless API.
Yes.
Yeah, and so what we've done is we kind of restructured some of our branding and reinforced the fact that you can build on Twilio and not just with Twilio. So the serverless platform we've known as Twilio Functions. It's still called Twilio Functions, but if you log into the console, you'll see things have gotten reorganized under a runtime heading. But what's cool is serverless, it used to be on Twilio Functions. You code it in the console. Maybe that's a little cumbersome, so you did it in code, Visual Studio Code or whatever your editor is, copy paste, doing some of that back and forth. Well, now with Twilio Serverless, I'm going to go to my Scratch directory. I can say Twilio Serverless init, and we'll just call this Twitch. Let's call it, what is this? This is Signal TV. Let's call it that.
Signal TV.
Signal TV.
Naming themes is hard.
Yeah. All right. So now let's say I want to start a new project. That's all I need to do. So this will scaffold an entire Twilio Functions project right within your directory there called Signal TV. And it takes a little bit to install the dependencies, but that's just Node.js. That's not anything we have a lot of control over. But so now we have this project. We can go into Signal TV, and you can see there's this full project here. Node modules have been downloaded, and 2 directories called Functions and Assets.
Wow.
So if we just say code and bring this up, now we have this in here, and we have functions. There's like a hello world. So we can say like hello Signal TV, save it up. So that's cool. Like I just did a ton of really advanced coding just then. So yeah, so now we can say like Twilio serverless, and let's just look at the commands that we have real quick. So you got activate, deploy, and so on, start. So when we do start, that will actually run this project in a local Twilio CLI kind of hosted environment. So we're running at localhost hello world. We'll see, where's my browser? Go back to my browser.
So many windows.
Run this, yeah, like woohoo, Windows. So hello Signal TV, right? So if we did a phone call and we tied this up to a phone number, then we would be able to hear that read back to us. So you might wonder, cool, like how do I do this thing publicly? Like how do I expose this and test it to my my world out there? So
Silicon Orchid likes how the CLI output includes Unicode checkmarks, arrows, and more. I agree.
Heck yeah.
Yes, John.
All right, let me do this real quick.
We have 2 minutes.
I'm good. I'm rocking. Twilio phone numbers list. I gotta get my phone number. All right, so we're gonna use like this phone number, for example. Now, what we can do is say update, and we can update it. We update the phone number, and if you've ever used Twilio, you have to set an SMS URL that is publicly available to get the webhooks back. Now, you might think right now I'm crazy because I'm typing in a localhost environment, so hello world. But what we're doing behind the scenes here is we have embedded ngrok within the project. Yeah, so now we automatically updated it with a publicly available URL. Anybody crazy out there want to try and hit this URL right now?
Okay, we have 1 minute left.
All right.
Someone got to hit it. Thank you, Roberta Bowles.
Cool.
Welcome in, ngrok.
So I'll just show you here. Boom.
Okay.
So now we got the same thing, but through a publicly addressable environment. Cool.
There we go.
There you go.
So,
Lots of cool stuff.
a lot happened in 20 minutes. Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate
Thank you
it.
for tuning in.
Who is my co-host? Introduce yourself
I'm
again.
Lizzie. We'll see you soon. We have more coming to you right next. Soon.
If you like what you saw in this interview, please consider heading over to twitch.tv/Twilio and giving us a follow there. We'll have more content like this there very soon.